Conor Mollison is the youngest child in South Africa to undergo this 12-hour operation. Joining me now is the director of the Transplant unit at the Wits Donald Gordon Medical Centre, Dr Jean Botha. Good evening, and thank you so much. Congratulations so far on a procedure that largely seems to have gone off without a hitch. What factors influence a decision to do what you call a living donor transplant on someone so young?
Well, these children are born with a disease that's ultimately going to result in them dying. If they're not transplanted, usually within about 2 years of the diagnosis, they will die. So liver transplantation is a life-saving therapy for them, and we have few options in order to transplant children. Cadaveric donors are scarce.
Those are deceased donors?
Correct, those are deceased donors. When we do get these, mainly from adults, we take a portion of an adult liver, split it in two, give one to a piece to a child and the bigger piece to another adult. Living donation offers us the ability to do a very similar operation, however, take the portion from a live donor, very similar to kidney transplantation that we do all the time, but a little bit of a bigger operation. We take a portion from a live donor and then transplant that into the young child.
One would imagine that the risks are multiplied in a procedure like this. What were your biggest concerns?
So the overriding concern is the donor's safety. It always is. This is a person who doesn't need this operation, who's putting themselves at risk to undergo the procedure in order to save her child's life. It might be easy to, as a parent, sit back and say, oh, I would do that in a heartbeat. But when faced with the facts and the risk, that there is a risk to her of dying from that procedure, it's a fairly daunting task. So her safety is of utmost importance in this operation.
And the transplant list, I mean, there's quite a long waiting list. Had he waited the 6 months, you know, what would the prognosis have been had he had to wait?
Well, this child was in hospital since February, has not spent any time with his twin brother. The family has been split apart by this sick child, requiring continuous hospitalization. So he would have continued to deteriorate, and had a liver not become available, the result is obvious.
And the risks are clear. You could both could have died, or the mother could have died.
This is the one operation where you could say there's a possibility of a 200% mortality. Both the recipient and the donor could die. So the risks are certainly, as you'd said, elevated, and we're obviously cognizant of that, and certainly the grey hair on my brow is probably testament to this because of this procedure.
Well, I'm sure that your own heart, you must have had your own, fair, a share of palpitations throughout this
Correct.
process. A 12-hour process, we understand. As a surgeon, and you were part of the surgical team, what was going through your mind?
Okay, well, we have two teams. We have one team that is specifically concentrating on the donor, and a separate team that's specifically concentrating on the recipient. So one of our teams completes the donor operation before handing the segment of liver off to the second team that transplants the organ. We're a large team of talented surgeons, anaesthetists, operating room nurses, so there are a lot of shoulders to bear the stress. It's not, don't be mistaken, it's certainly not borne by one person.
Well, don't downplay it. I mean, I'm sure it was also quite grueling and really stretched your expertise, Dr. Botha.
It does, but at the end of the day, it's a very gratifying procedure to see the result we now have.
And so Conor and his mom this operation was conducted 2 weeks ago. Your biggest concerns, one would imagine, post-surgery is the rejection of the donor liver. What's been Conor's progress over the last 2 weeks, and what does it tell you about his future prospects? His
progress has been very good. He's had very few complications. He's had one or two, but nothing that we couldn't treat. We've got through the really risky period. That risk never goes to zero, however, and he'll continue to be on immunosuppressive drugs for the rest of his life to prevent rejection of the liver. However, he should, once he survives this operation, should have a normal quality of life like any other young boy.
And his mom?
His mom has done extremely well. She is out of hospital, has recovered very nicely from this operation, and actually went without a hitch at all.
Before I let you go, this is not an operation or procedure that is done widely or commonly in South Africa. Having had this experience you've had, and of course you've been overseas and you've learnt a lot coming back and applying it here in South Africa, is it a procedure you would encourage in these circumstances?
Absolutely. I mean, we're fortunate that we have supportive surroundings. We're at the Wits Donald Gordon Medical Centre, which is a unique institution in this country, public-private partnership that has really provided the backbone to be able to do this advanced type of surgery, which again offers us a fairly transformative outlook in terms of educating and teaching aspiring surgeons, anaesthetists, intensivists, nurses, operating room nurses. So we really have the ability, which people may not be aware of, the ability to be able to function at an extremely high level right here in our own backyard.
Well, no doubt you're a hero to Connor, to the Mollison family, and your son Matthew is here on the side of the studio set, and he is certainly very proud of you. Thank you for your efforts, and may the program grow from strength to strength. Thank
you very much.
Dr. Jean Botha is the director of the Transplant Unit at the Wits Donald Gordon Medical Centre.
News that moves. eNCA.com.